Cuts to the federal government left and right could center in Boulder as that community braces for a significant economic hit.
We're in a dangerous situation, and it is critical that every American resist.
Elon Musk's team says it's getting rid of millions of dollars worth of federal office space in Colorado. Trying to get answers about that makes the team from the movie Office Space look functional. Happy 303 Day to those who celebrate what's become a mark of OG status in Colorado.
303 is the area code, right?
And if you'd allow, a personal remembrance of a man who helped save the world and who loved a good plaid sport coat. Tonight on Next. Colorado has an unusually large concentration of federal laboratories, in Boulder especially. Firing federal workers there might make for good own the libs material on the internet. But the work being done in Boulder is not necessarily political at all, like developing technology that helps buildings stand up in earthquakes, forecasting life-threatening weather, and keeping America's wireless spectrum functioning for our everyday use. Our Angeline McCall reports.
Hello, everybody. Gather around.
With hundreds of jobs cut.
I can't believe how many people we have here. It's just wonderful.
Protest organizer and former Congressman David Skaggs worries about what will be lost along with the people and positions.
What is going on now is going to affect the Boulder community at large, its economy, its sense of itself.
Late last week, the Trump administration eliminated hundreds of jobs from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, including staff in Boulder.
NOAA's job is to protect us all. NOAA are the people who are there at midnight when there's a big storm coming and going to warn your family.
Protesters worry their loss will leave a bigger storm to worry about.
So when you think of NOAA and you think of the cuts that are happening, think that they're taking away our protection.
The Chamber of Commerce estimates Boulder is home to 12,000 employees associated with federal organizations or agencies.
So we're very sensitive to the decisions that are being made about the cuts in those federal jobs and the important services that they provide.
John Taylor with the Chamber says those federally funded positions generate $2.5 billion annually in economic impact.
So we're concerned about the impact that would have on our economy locally, the small businesses, as well as the larger sort of impact that they would have on just the character of our community.
Of Colorado's 30 federally funded labs, Boulder is home to more than half.
And we need research. We would have never been first to the moon without research.
Former employees know what will be gone with the people behind the jobs.
The service is going to suffer.
With thousands more still in federal positions across the city, an effort to protect those who have protected the community for so many years.
Together, I hope we can make our voices and our unhappiness heard.
According to the most recent CoLab's economic impact study done in 2017, there were 17,000 people back then working in federally funded labs with 3,600 people employed in Boulder County. And you think of the impact, Kyle, I think a lot of us think of forecasting and research, but then, you know, when you talk about the wider impacts, it really does have like a trickle-down effect, right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where when you delve into what these labs are doing, often it's not very sexy work that we don't see every day, but it's the kind of thing that you're like, oh yeah, I'm glad there's somebody doing that, and they happen to be doing it at the federal level.
And perhaps you don't realize it until, you know, it's gone.
Yep. All right, Angeline McCall, thank you. Former Democratic Congressman David Skaggs, who you heard there, one of the organizers of today's protest over the federal job cuts, that man left Congress more than 25 years ago. Interesting to note, it was after watching another significant effort to downsize the federal workforce, an effort that's being invoked, often misleadingly, by Elon Musk and his supporters. In 1993, then President Bill Clinton and Vice President Al Gore announced the National Partnership for Reinventing Government. It promised to overhaul federal government efficiency and save $108 billion by the end of the century. That'd be about $235 billion today. Elon Musk has held up the Clinton administration's work as a model for Trump's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Now, to be fair, there are some similarities, right? Both involved cutting the federal government, both involved photo ops, right? Clinton had the scissors and the red tape. Musk has his chainsaw. But compared to the sudden and scattershot DOGE cuts, Clinton's Reinventing Government initiative moved at a much slower, more deliberate pace. It focused largely on operational inefficiencies, like transferring departments over to the internet and offering $25,000 buyouts for federal workers. And Skaggs told us today the major difference he sees is that the Clinton-era decisions were all subject to congressional approval, with the workforce reductions being just one part of a larger plan.
Were reductions in force keyed into what was a actually successful effort to reduce the federal deficit. In the Clinton years, we had the last few years of a surplus in the federal budget. So what's going on now has no comparison. It is completely haphazard, mindless stuff.
Former Clinton advisor estimates their buyout program in the 90s eliminated 400,000 federal jobs over 7 years. Some of that cost savings was later lost due to increased spending on government contractors. Elon Musk's efforts to strip down the federal government are picking up steam in Colorado. His DOGE team now says it's canceling nearly 20 federal government property leases around the state. Our Mark Salinger has been asking federal agencies how that's going to impact their work. The responses he received are less than illuminating.
Elon Musk's DOGE wall of receipts now claims at least 19 canceled leases and real estate contracts in Colorado. But the claims are hard, if not impossible, to confirm. A $2.9 million annual lease for nearly 87,000 square feet of real estate in Denver. The only information provided is that it relates to the, quote, Office of the Secretary, whatever that means. There's also a $1.5 million annual lease for the National Park Service in Fort Collins, a more than $600,000 lease for the U.S. Forest Service, also in Fort Collins, and many, many more. So what impact does closing these buildings have on the departments? Questions to the agencies lead to very few answers. When I asked the U.S. Geological Survey what impact ending a lease for their Boulder office would have, the full statement I received back was, "We don't have anything for you at this time." Repeated questions to the Mine Safety and Health Administration about closing their office in Craig were met with the same reply. Contact the General Services Administration about the canceled lease, they said. No information at all about the impact on mine safety in Colorado. Even the state says the federal government has provided no information about the future plans for the Mine Safety Office in Craig to its local partners in Colorado. Only the Social Security Administration provided a little information, saying they're working to consolidate hearing sites since most meetings are now held virtually and many buildings sit empty. National media outlets like the New York Times and Associated Press have reported that many of the so-called receipts that DOGE has posted on its website are either wrong or don't actually result in any savings. We'll continue trying to verify the local impacts right here in Colorado, but as of right now, any answers from federal agencies, Kyle, are close to zero.
Right, because that's the point of all this, Mark, right? If they're able to come back to us and say, you know what, that was wasted space and we're going to be able to do it better here, or here's the reason why we did this, right? We're just looking for the why of things, and when you get
and what comes next as well, right? Like once you do this, what is the impact that it will have? Those questions really get no answers at this point.
All right, well, it's keeping you employed. Stay after.
Something like that.
Mark Salinger, thank you. Denver's mayor is in Washington tonight, preparing for a date on Wednesday that he'd prefer not to have, but would have been subpoenaed into if he refused. Mayor Mike Johnson is testifying before Congress as House Republicans investigate so-called sanctuary cities. Sources close to the mayor say he has not coordinated his testimony ahead of time with the mayors of Boston and Chicago. They're all going to get grilled by Republicans at the same time on Wednesday. New York City Mayor Eric Adams will be there, but he is more likely to get softballs because he has agreed to help the Trump administration enforce federal immigration law. Wouldn't you know, that happened just as the Trump Justice Department moved to drop a federal bribery case against Mayor Adams. Denver's Mayor Johnson will be questioned by Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who sits on the Oversight Committee, and possibly some other Republicans from Colorado who are going to try to get onto the committee for the day. Tends to be a competition for who can land the soundbite moment that gets replayed elsewhere. Next, we'll be live tomorrow and Wednesday from Capitol Hill. I'll be there focusing on how exactly the mayor is going to defend Denver's policies and what specifically Republicans say about potentially pulling federal funding from Denver. A leader in the Douglas County Sheriff's Office with a history of complaints about workplace violence and harassment got promoted by Sheriff Darren Weekly last fall. Then that guy retired last month, narrowly escaping a firing for misconduct. Tommy Barella was the subject of internal and criminal investigations for dating a subordinate, An investigation where investigators found he violated 6 department policies. Not the first time he'd been disciplined. Barella's history of complaints include other workplace relationships, violence, harassment, misuse of the national and state crime databases. He'd been with the department 26 years before being promoted to captain by Sheriff Weekly last fall, despite those previous complaints. We should note the criminal investigation into Barella did not result in any criminal charges. Your latest Word of Thanks microgiving project proves the power of community. But you do that week after week. Your latest weekly fundraising campaign is helping Girls Inc. That nonprofit provides mentoring, college prep, and scholarships for girls. They recently lost $70,000 in federal funding because it was labeled gender ideology. Well, Next viewers have raised $72,000 for them so far. Thank you for that. Your microgiving campaigns, 246 weeks and counting, have brought in more than $14 million for nonprofits in every corner of our state. If there's a nonprofit in your community that is making an impact, please let me know. Then we'll check out their financial situation, talk to their leadership, and we might be able to feature them here in the future. Email your ideas to next@9news.com or text NEXT 303-871-1491.
Today is 303 Day, so we're celebrating Denver here in Denver, Colorado.
It is a badge of honor for old school Coloradans, but all are welcome to celebrate 303 Day. And a word about remembering those we have lost, whether through words or a jacket. That's next.
Welcome to March. We go from sunshine and 60s Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to cold, wind, and snow, and rain, and thunder, and grapple, and potential blizzard conditions overnight tonight. Yeah, this is snow covering the lens on our Lookout Mountain camera. It's raining in Denver. It's windy in Denver. We're down to 44 degrees, but the main storm is just getting going. Look at the current wind speeds, anywhere from 30 to 50 miles per hour. This will definitely impact flights in and out of DIA. Big storm system, looks like a spring storm, and once it moves into the southern plain states, there's going to be a big severe weather outbreak tomorrow and tornado outbreak, and this storm is affecting the events in New Orleans and Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday and all of that. We're seeing some rain showers in Denver, snow in the mountains and foothills, and it's going to turn heavy overnight, but we'll see the wind as the biggest feature. So we have a blizzard warning south and east of Denver, winter weather advisories, and advisories for heavy snow in the foothills and mountains. Denver, not much snow here, but you go south a bit, Castle Rock, Castle Pines, Parker, Kiowa, Elizabeth, you're in that 3 to 6 inch range, but you get winds to 60 and 70 miles per hour. That's going to create whiteout conditions, blowing and drifting. So tomorrow, a weather impact alert, morning snow, gusty winds, a whole lot colder. Wednesday looks beautiful, a few rain showers Thursday, a few snow showers Friday, ahead of a beautiful spring weekend. Daylight saving time begins. Don't forget to spring forward and set those clocks ahead 1 hour on Saturday night.
A man you never met would have turned 100 this week. His name was Harry. He's my grandfather. This is his jacket. Since you all never met, I suppose I should offer something by way of introduction. He grew up one of 11 children in his family during the Depression. He joined the Navy at 17 and helped the world defeat fascism. He came home and got a union job on the railroad, like his father and his grandfather before him. For a short time, all 3 generations of Clark men worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad at once. He raised a family in a small cinder block house with his oversized vegetable garden out back. He was the funniest man I ever met. Just the look in his eye that a joke was coming was enough to get people laughing. He kept meticulous, detailed records on everything from his oil changes to books that he read to puzzles he completed in retirement. It was a note-keeping habit he passed on to his son and then to his grandson. It's been a useful trait as a journalist. He's been gone for 14 years. But everyone that we have ever lost is less gone when we talk about him. I hope that something that I said about him reminds you of something that you remember about someone who was once in your life. That simple act of remembrance makes them a little less gone too. Colorado's coveted 303 area code. You got one of those? There's a good chance that you have been here a while. On 3 303, a celebration of Denver natives and newbies alike. Hey, a reminder, you can catch Next streaming each evening 6 p.m. on 9 News Plus. And Next is also a podcast. Find us wherever you get those. Happy 303 Day, especially to everybody consigned to live with a 720 or whatever that even newer area code is. The original 303 area code covered the entire state of Colorado when it was rolled out in 1947, stayed that way for 41 years, and then they started to restrict its use to just the Denver metro area. Since then, the metro area has added 2 new zip codes, 720 in the 90s, and most recently 983, which is really hard to remember unless you use this trick. 983 spells WTF on your dial pad. 303 Day is designed to be a day to celebrate Denver, no matter your area code.
Today is 303 Day, so we're celebrating Denver here in Denver, Colorado.
303 is Denver's area code, and today is March 3rd, so it's 303 Day.
I work for Station 26. We have our 303 lager, so we get to do a couple variants, specialties, styles of our beer, which is super exciting.
We want to shop local, we want to support local businesses here in Denver, and so 303 Day is the day to do it.
Do you have a 303 area code?
I have a 719 area code. So I'm from Colorado Springs.
I do not.
I do not. Would you rather celebrate a 719 day?
Sure. I mean, yeah, that'd be fun.
So what is your area code?
516.
I think getting to see just the community come together to support each other and to support local businesses and to try new things, to get out and get involved in your community.
Would you like them to start celebrating at 516?
I think they should start doing that. I mean, they pay enough taxes on Long Island.
Celebrating 303 Day, you know, having a great time.
I'm just here to celebrate a 303 Day, have a couple beers, and enjoy the great beer here.
I had no idea about 303 Day, but sounds good to me.
For me, it's just a chance to celebrate, you know, everything about Colorado.
If you got the 303, you know you're in it. That's it.
Colorado's getting another new area code early next year. The 720 area code for northern Colorado and the western slope is expected to run out of numbers in the second quarter of 2026. Once that happens, new numbers in those areas will get a 748 area code. How in the world are we going to remember 748? It spells SHT on your dial pad. There's no I in the area code, but there is in how we'll remember it. Marissa, thank you. Your feedback is next. A lot of really kind notes tonight in feedback. I want to read this longer one that came in from Tracy. Tracy writes, thank you for the commentary about your grandfather. It reminded me of my own grandfather. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That was the whole point. Tracy goes on to write, I never got to meet him, but I knew him from the stories. I heard that he worked for the Express Railroad in New York, would have been about the same time that your grandfather worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad. Tracy continues, my grandfather served in the Army in World War II. I joined the Army because of his influence through those stories. Tracy concludes, telling stories really does matter. Yes, it does. They are alive through our stories, as is their influence. I will see you from Washington, D.C. tomorrow night. See you next time.